Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. I'm AP writer Steve Wino. We are pleased to be joined by former Capitals forward, now working for the Minnesota Wild, Matt Hendricks. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. I hope everything's going well out there. I'm wondering what the temperature's like out in Washington right now.
It's hot. We're up in the mid 90s here. How about you?
Yeah, well, we've got high 80s, low 90s as of yesterday. We're hoping it cools down a little bit heading into the weekend.
Yeah, no kidding. Are you guys going to be out? Well, first of all, thank you for taking a break. I know you're doing this interview in your Speedo as we speak. But I appreciate you.
Who told you that?
I got a little bird telling me some inside info. No, I know how busy things are right now. So for everybody listening, Matt is we're working for the Wild, but man, you are scouting pretty much everything on skates right now. It seems like, right? Is that pretty much what your life entails right now?
Well, it's been busy. This past season was really busy. Obviously, with the restrictions due to COVID kind of coming off and making things a little bit easier to travel. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get back to full normalcy like we were, 3-4 years ago, but it was great to be able to get back out on the road and see our prospects. And that's really what I'm doing alongside Brad Bombardier, who I work underneath here in Minnesota. We're getting out and we're working with our drafted players, our prospects, whether that's over in Europe, down here in the U.S. and in U.S. college, or, all through Canada in the major junior leagues up there. So it's been busy, East Coast, West Coast, a lot of travel. But at the end of the day, it's great to get out and try and help these kids reach their dream, and that's playing in the NHL someday.
I'm curious, each of you guys, we just got done the Cup final. I was in Tampa for the Avalanche winning the Cup and then dropping the Cup. I'm curious, each of your thoughts on the final, and is there anything teams can glean, whether it's the Wild or the Capitals or whoever, glean from Colorado winning this?
Go ahead, Wag.
I'll go first. Well, I think Landeskog kind of hit it on the head when he said, go out and find a Cale Makar.
Exactly.
Got that right.
I mean, how much fun was it to watch that guy? All season he's tremendous and obviously earned the Norris, and he's an incredible player, but man, was he at a whole new level in the playoffs. And I think just, that's kind of the MO of that team and the way they play. They're a possession-orientated team. They played extremely fast with high levels of skill, and, the will and determination that group has kind of built over the last few years. We talk about scar tissue and what they've gone through in seasons past, and man, did they put on a show this year in the playoffs. It was a lot of fun to watch and extremely rewarding group, and very happy for them and their accomplishment.
Yeah. What I think is cool too, is that there's so many teams that build up a lot of scar tissue, but aren't able to get past it, like they just kind of continue to go away. And Colorado seemed to find a way. They were getting better every year. The regular seasons were good, but even their playoff performances were getting better. And, they'd run into a hot team every now and then, but they kept tweaking and retooling and finding new pieces. And yeah, you're right. Cale Makar is crazy. The way that I look at it, it's like, it was perfect in that Edmonton series. You watch McDavid go up against just about anybody, and that defenseman either gets burnt or they have to turn and skate forwards to keep up with him, even just a little bit. But Makar was able to keep up with him, even skating backwards, and being able to mimic his moves. And that to me is crazy, because there's so few defensemen that can do that. And I know, I think of Nick Leddy as an example. He's always been one of the best skaters in the league, and obviously he's a little bit older now, and you slow down. But just I've seen, we watched McDavid go by him a few times, and I'm just like, man, he's always been kind of like the peak for me in terms of how smooth of a skater he is. And McDavid just flies by a guy like that now, but Makar you're not able to do that. So that to me is the coolest thing, is that he's able to do that. Plus walking the line, and his first couple steps are so fast. So yeah, find a guy like that. Good luck if you can. Great. Otherwise,
well, it just goes to show, I mean, how great he is on all levels. I mean, his feet are elite, his powerful, his skating ability is just off the charts. But let's not forget about how intelligent he must be too.
Yeah.
I mean, and to have the ability to trust himself going up against those great players, and it's fun to watch. And he's been in the league 3 years now, so I mean, it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, he was my Conn Smythe vote. He was a unanimous Conn Smythe for a reason. Is it enjoyable for you guys to watch the playoffs at this stage? I know playing in it is one thing, watching it when your team's involved in it is another thing. Was it enjoyable at all?
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, you know what? Typically,
Carl, you had your trip too, so we'll talk about that on another episode.
Yeah, so I typically watch the entire final every single game, and so I didn't watch as much because, like you said, I was away for a good chunk of it, so I said I didn't get to pay as close attention. But I don't know. I was so torn with this series because as much as I wanted Colorado to win, I also really wanted to see Tampa, find a way. I love the fact that they were able to be so resilient all playoff long with being down in series and still finding ways to come back. So I just thought it was a neat story. But I mean, the hockey was really, really good. And I watched the game, and Andy, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I watched the game now and I'm like, it is so fast that it pushes so many players out of the league now, because you just can't not only keep up with the speed of the game, physical speed, but even the mental speed. Like some of the plays the guys are making now are just, there's so many no look plays, but we know that not every play is full on no look. Like you have an idea of where guys are and you're able to put it into space. And the players are doing it at just such a fast pace that, to me, the hockey it's just so fun to watch, because I'm now watching it with my jaw dropped as like, how is this happening? Right. And I'm sure you see it, especially too with the younger players and how they're even able to do it at a younger level. It's pretty neat.
Absolutely. And to answer Steven's question, I absolutely love the Stanley Cup playoffs and watching it. Obviously, having Karl and I both having experiences in the playoffs and understanding the grind that goes with it, and understanding, just the fraction of inches and mistakes that are made can cost you a hockey game. The pressure that's on these players, I love it. And I'm excited to turn it on every night. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a bit envious. I'm a bit pissed off, that it's not our team, and all those things that come with just being your average sports fan, right? So, but it's for me, it is such a great time of year. The sun's out, the weather's getting nice, playoff hockey's on. I still have a real good friend in Zach Bogosian down in Tampa that I'm pulling for him, and for him to go out and try and win another one. So that was exciting. But at the end of the day, a lot like Karl said too, it is, there's a lot of wow. And I don't know if it's necessarily players are slowing down and that ends their careers. I just think the game continues to grow and adapt and become so much faster with this new age player that's out there. And that's why we're seeing guys retiring and leaving the game earlier than in the past. It's just not because they're slowing down. It's just the game continues to get so much faster.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely true. Let's take a quick break here, because I want to go back in time. I want to ask you your Karl Alzner stories. We'll do some more Capitals memories, and then later on All's Caps, we'll do Karl's stupid questions. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and former Capitals forward Matt Hendricks. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. As we just teased, my favorite thing, Matt, to do when people come on is I want your favorite Karl Alzner story. And no one's come up with anything that's really that I've learned anything new yet about Karl beyond he's a great guy. So if you have anything more than he's a great guy, we'd appreciate that.
In terms of over the top stories, I don't think there are any.
Yeah.
Hence
squeaky clean Alzner over here. Yeah.
Hence the nickname, no pun intended, Crazy Karl, right?
That's exactly right.
I think what I was so impressed about with Karl from day one in Washington was his maturity level for being such a young player. You know, I remember looking at him, and I know he had found some real good success in his days in playing for the Hershey Bears in the American League. And he steps into NHL training camp, and the year I was there, I just remember thinking, wow, this kid is a pro, a mature pro at such a young age. And he was able to step into an NHL game and play like he had played 10 years. And it was incredible. And then, you know, obviously him being such an awesome person, first and foremost, and his wife, Mandy, being just incredible people. My wife, Kim, and I kind of gravitated towards them and ended up, you know, building great friendships and great relationships. And, you know, this was pre-kids in our household, and would always go out to dinners after home games in DC. And the next thing you know, our second season there, my wife Kim gives birth to a set of twins, and then a year down the road, we're in the lockout, and Karl and Mandy traveled to our house to spend, you know, for our kids' baptismal, and stayed with us for the weekend. And, you know, that's kind of how I look back at our time together. It was obviously playing for the Washington Capitals was such a great experience, but the friendships we made, you know, and we put Karl and Mandy right at the top. It was an incredible time in our lives that we'll never forget.
Yeah, this is kind of funny actually how this all started, in my opinion, is me and Chris Bork were both trying to make the team at the same time here. And I remember coming into training camp, and Wino, this guy's walking around with this raspy voice. He's got the biggest lower body I've ever seen. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, I know he's battling for the same, you know, kind of different player, but still battling for a forward spot. And I'm like, I thought like Borky was my roommate the year before. I'm like, I thought Borky was going to be on this team. Who is this guy that comes in and everybody loves him and he's a part of everything? I'm like, okay, I got to figure out who this guy is. And then we start spending a little bit of time together, and Hendy has this routine that he does before the games to fire everybody up, making sure he taps every single player in the dressing room shin pads and says something. Like sometimes it's just, you are the original wagon. I hear the word wagon getting thrown out a lot. And I just hope that everybody knows that, at least in my experience, you are the original wagon, and whatever that definition wants to be for people, it can be different. But so he would go around tapping everybody, saying wagon. You know, Jeff Schultz was the giraffe, and he'd get his licking leaves signature line that Hendy would throw out. Sometimes it would take 5 seconds. Sometimes it would take 30 seconds, but the entire dressing room is just cracking up. And it's so funny because I think the Caps are known now for having one of the most unique, pregame routines coming out on the ice. And I think a good chunk of that started with you. And I know that OSHA is a big part of it now, and you guys didn't really overlap. So it's funny how that tradition is kind of lived on in the Capitals dressing room. But one of my favorite memories is every single day off, Wino, me, Hendy, and Dennis Weidman and our wives would get together and spend, I think it was pretty much every time at your guys' place in the backyard. And we would start dipping into the cigars and the scotch, and it just kind of came your day off is supposed to be your day of rest, and ours turned into like a day of like kind of debauchery. And I always thought it was so funny because I'm this younger guy, only a couple years into the league, and I'm hanging out with the two of the older guys on the team. I'm like, man, this is sweet. Like, this is the life. We don't have to go out to bars or anything. We just get to hang out and do this. And I just thought it was so cool. It was for sure one of my favorite memories, alongside the time you split your shorts water skiing, which I think is pretty funny. If you remember that or not, I think
at Dennis and Lindsay's place up in the Muskokas, I remember that.
Yeah. So like I said, Hendy's got a huge lower body, and we were water skiing. you were doing really good, and then all of a sudden, as it happens, you go down and get back to the boat, and he's just sitting on the back of the boat. You're kind of like looking down, like something's going on. I didn't know if you'd rung your bell or what was happening. And next thing you know, stand up, and legit half of his shorts are gone. like completely ripped out the ass of these shorts. And it was so funny. And even your tweet after too, to her, I think it was Hurley, said, is this normal? Is this supposed to happen with your guys' shorts? Is some sort of quick bathroom exit or something like that? It was so funny, man. I don't know if you still got the huge glutes going or not, but it always made me laugh seeing you stomping around.
Well, the training regimen on my end has taken a step back from the playing days, of course, but I'm trying my best to stay in shape. It's not as easy as it once was, that's for sure.
No, it really isn't. That's I'm starting to learn that. We had anniversary pictures yesterday, and I knew I had to try and squeeze into a suit. So the last week I've been just smoothies and detox teas. So I understand completely how hard it is now.
Matt, how old are your twins now?
They are 10 years old now. They turn 11 in November.
It's because I remember very specifically that November 2012, because I think the Caps, I think you guys were playing in Jersey and they were born and you rushed to the rink and made it there for the game, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, actually, we were flying out. We had practice at Kettler, and my wife went in for a checkup, and I got a text. It was either from Mandy or Mackenzie Schultz that Kim was going into labor, and we were on our way to the airport, and Ian Anderson, our team service rep, told us that something was wrong with the airplane and we weren't going to take off on time. So we were going to, go home and have lunch at home or whatever. And we were going to fly out at 4:00. So I ended up just going right into the hospital. Talk about perfect timing. And the kids were born and healthy. And then I ended up taking a train up the next day up to Newark to play the Devils. I'll be honest with you, it was probably my worst performance ever. So my mind was in a different spot. That's for sure.
Yeah, but nobody's going to remember that. I think that was also the night. I think what am I remembering correctly? If that wasn't the same game that Joey Crabb and Jay Beagle played with Ovi. I think it was a different Devils game. But no one's going to remember how you played. This is the heroic story of Matt Hendricks playing after his twins were born.
Yeah, well, it was quite the experience taking the train up there too and walking through the train station in Newark and up to the rink. And I think I got to the rink a little bit before the team showed up. So I got about a 20-30 minute nap on the trainer's table in the locker room. And I think I had Sbarro at the train station before I left. That was my pregame meal.
That's Sbarro at Union Station, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was quite the ordeal.
That's amazing. I'm always curious because now that I'm experiencing, being away from the game, what would you say you miss the most about not playing anymore? Because it's nice that you're still involved in hockey. So I guess you get a little bit of that I don't know if you call it a rush, but you get a little bit of that hockey in you. But what would you say you miss the most now?
Well, you know what, Carl, that's a great question. I'm very lucky in the sense that I'm still in working in hockey, and so I guess what I'm getting at is I have that locker room feel with the guys I work with now.
Nice.
We get together for meetings and we're sitting in the boardroom and we're talking shop, and so I have that camaraderie and the good laughs and all that. I think what I miss the most is the games, is putting it all on the line every night, fighting, scoring the odd goal, just being part of that and in that, and just kind of just that feeling, that adrenaline rush of playing hockey and getting out in front of all the fans, the noise and all that. That's what I miss the most.
Yeah, it's funny when you say, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about it, and it's a hard thing to describe what it's like when you get to like walk out through the tunnel, especially a playoff game or a big game, and the fans are there, the lights are down, the music's going. It's you're not able to recreate that feeling anyway, and so it's
exactly.
Like you said, you can get that locker room feel back, whether it's working in hockey like you are, or playing men's league, or even having a good group of buddies and stuff that you just hang out with and shoot the shit. But to recreate the feeling of the excitement leading up to a game, or like you said, as a fight is happening or scoring a goal, you just don't get it anywhere else. And everybody always says it's the locker room stuff, but I feel like it's got to be a bit of the rush. You don't find that unless maybe you're into some sort of extreme sports, but it's still different. But it's a good point. And it's just hard to mimic. Like I've had friends, I've took them out onto the bench and stuff after games and to see it. And, even though you're out there and you get to look up and see all the seats, no one's cheering and the music's not on and the lights aren't low. So it's a really good point. And it's something that, you don't really get back any other way. So totally agree.
Like I was never known as a prolific goal scorer or anything, but that fraction of a second after you shoot the puck and it's going in the net, that feeling of I scored before 20,000 people even know it's in the net.
Yeah.
That you can't recreate that feeling no matter what you do in life. I don't, at least I don't think.
I know it's so funny when you see guys that score all the time and they don't react. And I'm like, man, well, how do you not react? Like you just did something sweet and then there's nothing.
Yeah. That's what I miss the most. And just God, being on the ice and battling and trying to win a game, trying to win a series. That's the hardest thing for me.
And Matt Hendricks, you did do this 55 times during your NHL career. Okay, 55 goal scorer, Matt Hendricks. When we come back on All's Caps, Matt Hendricks will be the latest victim of Karl's stupid questions.
Guys, are you looking for that extra confidence when it's time to have fun? Let me tell you about BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets help men combat all forms of ED. Blue Chew is also an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, all done online. Blue Chew's tablets, made in the United States, and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use promo code CAPS at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code CAPS, C-A-P-S, to receive your first month free.
Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner and one of my favorite Capitals players of all time, Matt Hendricks. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and now Matt gets to be the latest victim of Karl's stupid questions.
Yes, and not just one of your favorite players of all time, mine too. And I know we've had so many people ask to get you on, Hendy. So fired up that you had made some time, and now you get to play my game here. So you're aware of how it works. It's completely made up and for fun, but still curious about it. So we'll start with question number one. You mentioned that one game you had to have Sbarro for your pregame meal, but what was your typical pregame meal for Matt Hendricks?
Well, Karl, that is a good question, because what I found is superstitions in hockey were awful.
Yeah.
By the end, if I had one superstition, by the end of the season, I'd have 50 of them.
Oh yeah.
And I found that out early in my career. So then I started building what I called habits. So my pregame meal became basically spaghetti with pasta with pink sauce, chicken, a side salad, and chicken noodle soup. And I bet I ate that for 10 straight years. It even got to the point where I would go home versus going out for lunch after a pregame skate. If we were at the home rink, I would go home and my wife, Kim, would make my lunch. And she actually made a ceramic bowl, put my name on it. And it was kind of it looked like a trough. That's how much she could fit in there. But I did not deviate off that my entire career. And it just became a habit, and that's what I was comfortable with.
It's funny too, because that's like what people would typically think, is a spaghetti or some sort of pasta and whatever for pregame meal. But what is a lesser known fact is how many guys love soup. And it's like how almost every single person starts their meal off with a bowl of soup. And it was always a big thing, how the soup was, how's the soup, babe? Ovi would always say. And
Yep.
you always want to know if you get a good one from one of the hotels, guys are really fired up. And it's kind of funny. I never did the soup because I was, I just never did it, but I always was jealous of all the guys crushing soup before game. So that's a full 3-course meal. No ice cream though, right?
Well, sometimes I learned from Mike Knuble, just one spoon.
Just one spoon. That's what it was.
Just one spoon ice cream. That's all you get. Once in a while, we'd put a little hot chocolate sauce on there too, but it was just one spoonful.
Just a taste change.
Yeah.
Oh man. Right. Okay. Number 2. So I know that you, and I don't know if there's how much truth there was to it, but I think you had to make a decision back in the day about how you wanted to spend your summers, if you wanted to do more fishing or more golf. And I'm curious, if you could have your dream day right now, what would your full dream day look like?
You're right about that. When Kim got pregnant with the kids, I was playing on a summer slow pitch softball team. I was fishing as much as I could and golfing as much as I could. And she kind of gave me the ultimatum. It was, you got to pick one of 3. And I remember thinking, okay, well, I'll pick fishing, thinking, it's not going to be quite as expensive. Boy, was I wrong there.
Yeah.
But a perfect day for me would probably be up in northern Minnesota on Lake of the Woods out of the northwest angle, or up in Ontario out of Lac Sewell, which is a big river system that kind of dumps into Lake of the Woods. And I would love to spend a week there with friends and family. My son Gunnar now is an avid fisherman. We've actually got a league starting up here in July back in Minnesota for him.
Nice.
And I have had some really, really great experiences, great times, memorable experiences with Gunnar doing that. So that would be, if I had my own vacation, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, that's it seems to be a lot of people talking about how much fun they have fishing, and it's not something that I'm really all that into, but it just, I mean, even just sitting out there and not catching anything, just something about being on the water is it's just different, hits differently. Yeah. So makes sense.
Well, and you know what the best thing about going to those parts of the country, those parts of the world, is that your phone don't work.
Yeah.
And you don't have many days in your life that you can go without your cell phone and with our line of work and stuff. So for me, it's an experience well worth it.
Yeah, that's true. I one afternoon after coming home from the rink, I decided I was going to just leave my phone in the car and not worry about it, and pick it up in the morning. And so when I came back to the car the next morning, I had 13 missed calls and about 20 text messages because I missed 2 radio interviews that I was supposed to do that afternoon. one day.
That's what I mean. You can't live without it. It's difficult.
Yeah.
What's amazing, guys. So a quick cell phone story. So when I was in Denver for the Cup final, a woman came up to breakfast at the hotel and asked for a menu. And they said, well, it's on this QR code. She said, well, this doesn't do a whole lot for me. I left my phone in Alabama. Who leaves your phone 2 time zones away?
Right. That must have been a mistake.
It was a mistake, but you got to go to Walmart and get a burner at that point or something, right?
Apparently, yeah.
It's a bad feeling walking out the door without it. I'll tell you that.
Yes, it is. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit earlier with some of the skill in hockey right now. If you were playing right now, would you rather have speed like McDavid, shot like an Ovi or a Matthews, or passing ability like a Backy or a Kane? What would be the skill that you'd want to have, you think?
Well, I always had a shot like Ovi. I just never got the puck. True. To be honest, though, that's a really good question. I think I would go with the speed. Yeah. I think the speed opens up so many, more opportunities for you in the game of hockey. And I also feel that helps your longevity in the game. You could be a penalty killer for a lot longer time. You could be a role player in the game with speed like that. So I would definitely go with speed.
Yeah. You just look at a guy like Chimmer. Like Chimmer could fly,
exactly.
And I won't ever chirp anybody's hands or shot, but it's not like he was Matthews or Backy in that sense, but he could fly and he played a heck of a long time. So I think you're right there. Although I think it's sweet to be able to throw sauce passes like Backy. I think that would be so much fun. Just
And
for a day.
you know what? To be honest, I look at that and I was like, well, I'd never be able to do that anyway. I mean, how awesome is Nicholas Backstrom? I mean, that kid, he is one of the most fun, one of the greatest teammates, Karl. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yeah.
But just his hockey IQ and his knowledge and his ability to play and facilitate the puck on the power play, he's incredible.
Yeah.
So glad I got to play with him for 3 seasons.
Just the tightest, cutest little sauce passes everywhere. And so much fun to watch. Yeah, I could talk about Backy forever. But we only have a few minutes, 6 minutes left on our Zoom call here. So we'll get to the next one here. What's your favorite dessert?
Ooh, I'm a big strawberry malt guy. Not a shake, a malt.
Wow.
And there is a difference.
Yes.
My dad got me hooked on those when I was a kid. If I had played a great baseball game or something, he would bring me to Dairy Queen and we would always it would have to be a malt though. It couldn't be a shake. And now actually I've passed that on to my generations with Gunnar and Lennon. They're both into the strawberries too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a
right?
heck,
I may have more of those than I probably should, but
hey, but it's tradition. You just have to.
Who's counting, right?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so now we talked also about the how we do less training now. What exercise are you most happy you don't have to do? Because I remember you had a pretty intense warm-up routine with the bands and the balls and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if it's along those lines or if it's something else, but what are you most excited that you don't have to do every year training?
To be honest with you, that I think the hardest thing on my body was the act of skating.
Yeah.
Like the conditioning skates, and my feet were so bad.
Yes.
Still are so bad. And, that would beat my back up a lot. I mean, now I can go into the gym and I can do a lot of the same stuff we did when we were playing, and I don't need to go through quite the extensive warm up. I think just because I'm not putting myself in, the position of being on the ice all the time.
Yeah.
At least putting my, being in the position of playing in an NHL hockey game. So that has saved me a lot. My back has been doing a lot better because of it. Yeah,
it's a weird position to be in. And so much of your lower body gets tight, which pulls on your back and your knees and all that. So
right.
It's very true. But yeah, I wish I had a picture of your ankles to post along with the link, because that was pretty intense.
And I do not miss all the bag skating. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, and okay. Last one for you is, what's your go-to drink these days?
Well, I'm a light beer guy, or a Tito's and soda water with a lemon.
Oh,
Tito's and soda is a great call.
It's a good call. It just try to get to 30,000 feet and just kind of hover there, comfortable. Just be comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know we had a few Coors Lights back in the day, so I was wondering if that was
we did.
Still your go-to.
That's still lining our refrigerator out in the garage. That's for sure.
With the occasional banquet, just for a special treat.
Well, yeah, if you got people coming in from out of town, you got to get the good stuff.
That's so good. All right, yeah. Well, that's the 6 I got for you. Let me add these up really quick. Okay, so we go back to the pregame meal. It was a good one. Fishing, solid. Speed, I think, is the right answer. The skating, agreed. Coors. You know what? The fact that you said strawberry malt hits really, really good for me, because I used to have a strawberry shake before every single one of my baseball games. When I'd leave from hockey and then go to baseball, and we'd stop at A&W and get strawberry milkshake. So I know it was a milkshake and not a malt, but still it hits. Man, I think that's a 226 point total for you right there. Which,
oh man, that's got to be an okay number, don't it?
It is. Yeah, you just leapfrog Brooks Orpik, and
second place.
That puts he's got the Oshis are up there, the Petries are up there, and the outlier, Greg Wyszynski. I think so. That puts you into 4th place, Hendy, which is top 5. It's pretty damn good.
I'll take that.
Yes, man.
I've
Congratulations.
never been a guy at the absolute top. I'm usually just kind of hanging out below, right?
You always need the role players, right?
That's it, buddy.
The original wagon, Matt Hendricks, top 4 in Karl's Stupid Questions. Matt, thank you very much for joining us on All's Caps.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. This was great. And I just want to say something to the Caps fans. Obviously, loved my experience there playing for you guys. And if you're ever having a bad day, just blame Wino.
That's what everybody does anyway. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will talk to you next week on All's Caps. Maybe think with Dennis Weidman, but we will talk to you with someone next week on All's Caps.